All right, and now we are live on YouTube. So let me put the message in Slack real quick, and I'll give a quick going on. All right, and now we are live on YouTube. So let me message in Slack real quick, and right. Well, thank you everyone for being here today. Welcome to the 2026-2027 National Elections Town Hall, where we will be hearing from all the candidates running for national election office in the High School Democrats of America. We'll be giving each candidate 3 rounds to talk about themselves and the position they're running for. The first round being 1 minute to answer a general question about HSDA. The second round being a question specific to the position they are running for, and the third round being a chance for them to talk a bit about their platform. We'll be going in position order, starting with chair, then vice chair, communications director, programs director, then development director. I will be here timing, and Ankita, our national programs director, will be doing questions. So the way this will operate is that all candidates who are their position is currently being asked on, they will have their cameras on while everyone else has their cameras off. And when it is time for the next position, all the candidates in the prior position will turn their cameras off, and then the candidates for the next position will turn theirs on. So with that, we ask all candidates to turn their cameras off now, please. Thank you. All right. And with that, Ankita, when you are ready, begin.
Okay, incredible. Happy to have you all here. So our first general question will be going to our chair candidate. If the chair candidate could please turn on their camera. Okay, incredible. So how is our question for you is how do you envision HSDA by the end of your term if you are elected?
Hi, I'm Milan. I've spent this last year as National Vice Chair, and I previously served as chair of the Maryland chapter of HSCA, as well as chair of the First Gen Caucus as a Reg staffer, and a bunch of other things. Um, the main reason I'm running for chair is to make sure that HSCA can expand its influence and its impact beyond where it currently is, to the point where we become a major organizing group within the Democratic Party and we expand youth representation. Fundamentally, HSDA is here to represent young people and represent the next generation of voices, and we need to ensure that those voices go as far as we can possibly go. So that that goes from everything from getting a third DNC seat to passing DNC resolutions, as well as expanding organizing as we get to the midterms and ensuring that we are expanding our reach to 1,500 chapters in all 50 states. Thank you.
Thank you. With 10 seconds left on the clock, will the chair candidate please stop having their camera on, and will the vice chair candidates please all turn on their cameras? All right, incredible. So our first question is for Lauren. These questions are entirely randomized, so they will continue being in the same order as you will find them in the first round. So Lauren will be going first this round. My question for Lauren is, Um, how will you encourage, recognize, and reward local level initiatives taken by HSDA members?
All right, I'm going to introduce myself first. Hey, y'all, my name's Lauren. I'm a rising senior in Massachusetts right now, and I joined HSDA in my freshman year. And during that time, I've been able to do a lot in HSDA. I'm a local chapter leader, which will kind of tie into my answer. I'm Massachusetts State Chair, and I'm also Eastern Regional Director. So for that question, I think specifically why I'm running for vice chair, it's all about really recognizing local chapters, right? Because local chapters do so much work. So I think as vice chair, what I really want to do is create spotlight programs that really show and reflect the work that local chapters are doing. arguably what I want to do in HSDA is make HSDA more connected. And I think to do that, we need to make sure that local chapters are spotlighted. So some things I hope to do is doing like an HSDA like Instagram takeover, where we do something where a local chapter leader takes over Instagram and kind of highlights what local chapter life is like. And I think some other things I really hope to do is working with state chairs to ensure that local chapters are connected with states and doing a lot of programming with states. So thanks.
Thank you, Lauren. And we move on next to Jack. Jack, my question for you is, how can you assure that women and minorities of the organization that their voices will be heard and not silenced?
Yes, Ankita, thank you so much for that question. I first want to introduce myself to those of you watching at home. My name is Jack George. I'm a rising senior from Richmond, Virginia. I've been involved in HSDA since I was a freshman, and I currently serve as the founder and leader of my local chapter, the Virginia State Chair, and the National Southern Regional Director. I believe that women and marginalized communities are the backbone of our organization. Without them, we would not have the representation HSDA deserves and HSDA needs to succeed. And the way I want to make sure that I'm giving them more representation is working with the diversity director and the accessibility director to make sure that all of the programming that is coming out of the programs department and is more accessible and is inclusive to all of our members. And specifically when working with our local and state chapters, I want to make sure that they are also doing the exact same work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jack. Our next question is for Alice. This question is, how will you ensure HSDA is a part of the conversation in mobilizing for the midterms?
Hi, my name's Alice. I'm Vice Chair of Connecticut High School Dems, a local chapter founder and leader, and a member of the First Gen AA NHPI caucus, as well as others. Thank you for that question. I think it's really a matter of connecting not only with the National Democratic Party, but also state Democratic parties as well. As I previously said, I am a vice chair of my own state chapter, and it can be pretty difficult to actually connect with the state chapters, especially in my case, I came from a rather inactive chapter. Now that we do have established chapters in all of the 50 states and territories, thank you to Isabel and Millen, we need to ensure that they are not only staying active, but being really impactful. So connecting these chapters, as well as local chapters, really to to their state chairs so that they can for the Democratic Party, that being, they can then make more of an impact and be more visible on the national stage.
Thank you. My next question is for Ezra. My question for Ezra is, what would be the first action you take on your first day?
Yeah, I'm Ezra Anglin. I'm your National Finance Director currently, and I live in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm currently leading, I founded the largest chapter in Kentucky, and I'm also the Programs Director for Kentucky. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be running. So, I mean, the first thing that I would do is continue to connect with our local chapters and in our state chapters to sort of, see what their needs are and how I can, expand from there. So my platform is Build It, Share It, Sustain It. So I want to host state summits in every single one of our state chapters. I want to put us on the map in every GOP held congressional district, and I want to get alumni advisors for our state chapters. So the first thing I have to do is assess the needs of our state chapters and where they are and how I can, get them to those goals.
Thank you, Ezra. How much time did you have left?
Seconds left.
Okay. Awesome. So our next vice chair candidate is Jeremy. Is Jeremy here? Unfortunately, I do not see Jeremy. So our next person in line is Xavier. So Xavier, my question for you is what will you do to ensure that HSDA continues to include a diverse perspective?
Okay, yeah, so I want to introduce myself quickly as well. My name is Javier Aldana, and I'm from Orlando, Florida. I have been a part of HSDA for the past year, where I've served on the Education Task Force, and I started my own local chapter here at Timber Creek High School. So I'm very excited to be running for your vice chair. To make sure that our diverse perspective is incorporated into HSDA, I really want to make sure that we work with the diversity director, of course, and then also expand the task force departments, because working on the education task force this past year really opened my eyes to what we could do as a community-led project, and we could open more task forces specifically led about diversity and making sure that that perspective is showcased through our social media, through our platforms, and through the different messaging that we put out throughout the year. Thank you.
Incredible, thank you. Next vice chair candidate is Allison Liu. Is Allison Liu here today? Nope. All right, so that concludes our vice chair portion of the round. Would all vice chair candidates please close their camera, and communication director candidates please open theirs. Okay, awesome. So our first in line to do for the communication sector of this question is Naisha. So Naisha, my question for you is, the National Board has oftentimes been criticized for being out of touch with grassroots activist work. How do you plan to change that?
Hi everyone, I'm Naishva Gosra. I'm a sophomore at Livingston High School from New Jersey, proud to represent. I've been part of HSDA for almost 2 years now, but I've been part of the, I would say, more younger Democratic side for the past couple of years when I was in like my middle school years as well. So I'm pretty familiar with how to connect with our generation of people and involve them into politics. When it comes to trying to connect with activists outside of HSDA, I think the biggest thing we can use is definitely social media and highlighting those people as well. I think it's important to share those kind of stories and share those kind of platforms to make sure that everyone in HSDA is not only learning about different activists and their causes, as well as trying to get involved in themselves as well. I think that's such a strong part because we get so much information from social media either ways, whether it's highlighting stories or even doing Q&As on social media. It might be a small thing, but it has a huge impact. And the best thing is fun reels that everyone can genuinely believe in and see.
Thank you, Naisha. Our next communications candidate is Emery. Emery is here. So Emery, my question for you is, have you read the bylaws, and do you think they need reform in any way?
Hi everyone, my name is Emery Marks and I am a junior from Plymouth in Minnesota. I have been a part of HSDA for 1 year. I have been the communications director. Sorry, I just got a little call. I've been the communications director for the Minnesota High School Democrats for this past year. However, I have a lot more experience in communication, such as running outreach for legislative initiative in my state. So I have a lot of experience in communications and social media. I have read the bylaws, and I think that currently I did not see any specific issues with the bylaws in their current state. However, I'm if I see that there's any problems, or if, for example, one of my ideas as communications director is to have a constantly open Google form on the Instagram that gives members like an opportunity to like address problems that they want to see. So for example, like
Unfortunately, you have run out of time, and we will have to move on to the next candidate. Our next candidate in line is Asher. Asher is here. So Asher, my question for you is, what do you think is the most effective way to expand HSDA?
Hi, let me give myself a little short introduction. My name's Asher L. Owens. I'm a rising senior. I am from the beautiful Raleigh, North Carolina. Shout out my fellow Southerners. And I believe the best way to grow and expand our reach is through publication work. Now, see, I'm the publications director for the High School Democrats of America LGBTQ caucus. And with that, I have managed to create a publication to expand the voices of queer artists, independent journalists, writers, poets, you name it, I want to do it. And you see, one of my goals is to expand the voices of our Democratic Southerners, because I know that sometimes we get overshadowed, overlooked, and that's people who live in Hawaii, people who live in Alaska, anyone who lives in a red state, I want to be there for you. Publications do so much for so many people. It can really help you get your voice out there. And I want to have publications come in from all 50 states and all caucuses, and I want to have a centralized Google form to do so.
Thank you. Next in line for a question is Katie. Katie, my question for you is, how will you work with the Adult Advisory Board to improve HSDA?
Hi, my name is Katie Iacono, and I am currently the Disabled Caucus Communications Director. I plan on working with the with the Adult Advisory Board by helping make sure that all of the states in HSDA are implemented and that every chapter feels like that they have an open place that they can go to and be comfortable in. And I want to make sure that's established with the Adult Advisory Board. So that way everyone just feels comfortable and that HSDA is a safe place no matter what they feel or like what they need. And that's just one of the many things that I want to focus on during my candidacy.
All right. Okay, thank you so much, Katie. Last is Preet. So Preet, my question for you is, what do you think is the most important element of youth engagement?
Okay, so hi, my name is Pri. I'm a rising senior at Waukee High School from Iowa, and I serve as the vice chair for Iowa High School Democrats. So I live in Iowa. We are a civic desert. Practically, like no youth wants to get involved here, and I've seen it firsthand how these rural counties have youth that aren't represented as enough, and they're civic deserts. And I really want to make sure to engage these youth, and especially in rural counties that are not as engaged yet. And to do that, I really want to wait. Can you say the question one more time? I'm sorry.
All good. What do you think is the most important element of youth engagement?
I think the most important element of youth engagement is definitely the civic literacy part. I think that is the most important aspect of it, since having civic literacy is the key and the purpose to be able to be civically involved, and having that education behind it is a very significant element.
Thank you, Preet. At this moment, we have concluded the communications director portion. Would all programs director candidates please open their cameras, and communications director candidates close theirs? Okay, incredible. So our first programs director candidate to be asked a question is Mateo. Mateo, my first question for you is, what do you think is the biggest cause of elitism within HSDA? What is your plan to sort of address and/or fix that?
Of course. So thank you so much for the question. My name is Mateo Cisneros, and I am running to be your next programs director. And what I see as the biggest cause of elitism is being from these stronghold blue states with very strong Democratic parties and established high school Democrats, chapters and caucuses. But what we need to do is make sure everyone is afforded the same opportunities, not just HSDA wide, but in our programs department. And I come from a red state, so I know what it means to be underinvested, especially in the Democratic Party. That's why I would expand all our opportunities, including expanding the Red and Rural Outreach Commission, to make sure we're reaching out to new chapters like North Dakota, who might be lost, overwhelmed, and confused. I want to make sure every single member has the opportunity to shine and actually knows the resources we have. And that's exactly what I'm going to be fighting for with my Build platform by making programs that work across state chapters, making programs that last, and making programs that work everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Mateo. Next up is David. My question for David is, what would be the first action you take on your first day?
Of course. Thank you, Ankita, for the question. So my platform is based around the idea that we need to build programs that last by creating the systems that work. Oftentimes in the programs department, and I've noticed because I've direct experience as a task force director, before I was the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force director, I was a member of the Economic Justice Task Force. And it is a great task force, but often what we see is that task forces are disconnected from national HSDA programming, and often there aren't a lot of meetings. And in the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force, the reason I became task force director in the first place was because they resigned. So what I did was I kind of inserted operations integrity. So what I would want to do on my first day is turn ideas into impact. I would want to see from previous NAT staffers and overall what's happening. I'd want to see what's happening. I would be honest with HSDA members. I'd do a quarterly report, and also through that plan, through my quarterly report, I would plan it out and overall build an agenda that fixes it and just.
Unfortunately, David, you have run out of time. Our next candidate on the programs department is Annika. So my question for Annika is, have you read the bylaws and do you think they need reform?
Hi, it's Annika, running to be your 26-27 programs director. Over the past year, I've served as your national NHPI caucus co-chair and as the political director for the California state chapter. Yes, I love this question so much, especially because it actually does pertain to the programs director role. So one area that the bylaws needs work, and I've read the bylaws, by the way, is the endorsements process. I don't think that there's any set endorsements process in the bylaws. And because of that, right now, what we're seeing is that when HSDA endorses candidates, those candidates don't have HSDA's logos on their websites. I've checked, right? And so having a concrete endorsements process that also includes general member input and input of state chapters and local chapters will be so much more valuable. And then when we endorse candidates, first of all, that gives us more power and legitimacy as a youth organization. And secondly, we're able to work with those endorsed candidates for organizing. This is especially crucial with the 2026 midterms coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, Annika. Our next in line for the program sector is Santana. Santana is here, so I will be asking you a question. Santana, my question for you is, how will you encourage, recognize, and reward local level initiatives taken by HSDA members?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ankita. I really appreciate that question. Hi, everyone. My name is Santana Schnitzler. I currently serve as the National Disabled Caucus Chair. This year, I first got started in HSDA my freshman year, and I currently serve as a local chapter chair and a few different roles since then. I like this question a lot because as a local chapter leader, I understand the great value that local chapters bring to our organization. And I also understand where we can further support and strengthen our local chapters. So as programs director, I will ensure that local chapters have a meaningful way to engage with our national programming, have a direct voice in planning everything that the programs department is working on, and is in direct contact with the programs director so that we are producing the best tools and resources to best support those local chapters, not just in blue states or in swing states, but also in our red and rural areas as well.
Thank you, Santana. You unfortunately ran out of time. Next in line is Yatin. Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. I thought it was Yayan, but no worries. So yeah, my question for you is, what will you do to ensure that HSDA continues to include a diverse perspective?
So great question, and thank you, Akira. Hi, everyone. I'm Yeton Park, current Women's Caucus Chair and a National Youth Advocate. I'm running for Programs Director because I believe my job is not simply to recruit members, but to develop leaders. So HSCA right now does not have a passion problem, but we have a potential problem. The real question is, after someone joins HSDA, what pathway exists for them to grow across all fronts, red state, blue state, diverse, inclusion, all that kind of stuff. How are we going to maintain this? And right now, these pathways from organizer to leader to change maker can be inconsistent depending on chapter strength, depending on geography, depending on access to resources. And I want to change that. I want every HSDA member to know exactly how they can plug in, contribute, and grow. I want programming that doesn't simply inspire members for an hour of a workshop, but equips them for years. That means building intentional systems of mentorship, training, networking, and leadership development. And that is what my platform strives to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Yatin. So my next question goes to Sam. So Sam, my question for you is, how can you assure women and minorities of the organization that their voices will be heard and not silenced?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the question, Ankita. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam. I am a rising senior from South Carolina. Please excuse my voice. I've been at Boys State all week and there's a lot of yelling, so I'm kind of feeling under the weather. But as for uplifting women and minority voices, that's like of the utmost importance right now, especially in like our current political climate with the significant losses that DEI has faced. So I know that the programs director has their own department and the national staff. So I absolutely am going to try and make it a priority to include diverse perspectives from women and minorities of all kinds in my department, especially as a white cisgender male. That is like of the utmost importance to maintaining diverse perspectives in the programs department, and also ensuring that we can uplift local programs from sublimated and gerrymandered districts so that we can ensure that we have the best ability to uplift those voices going into the midterm elections in November.
Thank you, Sam. Our final question is for Aaliyah Benjamin, but Aaliyah is not here. So we will ask that all programs directors please close their cameras and development director candidates please open theirs. Awesome. Okay, so first up is Jonah. So my question for Jonah is, the National Board has oftentimes been criticized for being out of touch with grassroots activist work. How do you plan to change that?
Yeah, hi. So my name's Jonah. I am your current interim development director. I'm a rising senior from Los Angeles, California, and I'm running for a full term because I think that HSDA needs to work for everyone, not just the leadership. I got a call about 6 months ago from HSDA leadership saying, our previous development director has resigned and we need you to come in and step in and do some help. And I love politics. I'm going to help out. But the thing is that HSDA too often is a club and there's barriers to getting involved in our different chapters, in our different levels of national leadership. And national leadership is often too focused on procedure as opposed to creating actual change and winning actual elections. So my focus as development director is to empower members and give everyone a chance to make a change and have a voice in HSDA. And I'm looking forward to talking more about that tonight.
Thank you, Jonah. Next up in our questions is Alicia. So Alicia, my question for you is, how will you ensure HSDA is part of the conversation in mobilizing for the midterms?
Yeah, I'll start with a quick introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia Sachdeva, and I'm a rising junior at Saline High School, and that's in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Go Blue. So I think that almost every candidate before me talked about our development, talked about our local chapters, and those are really the heart of our organization, which is exactly what the development director position is about. It means getting these local chapters involved, and I think that ties right perfectly back into my platform with these resource packets. Why creating this step-by-step pathway for local chapters to follow, get involved in midterms, go to events, make sure they're sending emails to all their participants, etc. We can make sure that our local chapters are getting involved in midterms, which overall helps our organization get involved in midterms, and it really dwindles back to our own individual local members getting involved because these make up HSDA at our core. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Alicia. All right, so with those being the only, at the moment, development director candidates here for this town hall, we have concluded the first round of general questions. All right. We will be now advancing to the position-specific question. So if possible, could any chair candidates in the Zoom please turn on their camera? Okay, awesome. So our chair-specific question for Millen is, being on the board involves having to make difficult, quick, and sometimes unpopular decisions. Whose opinions would you prioritize when making a major decision?
Okay, so I am currently on eBoard and I have made a lot of tough decisions. And there's only one voice that I've ever represented in making those decisions, and that is that of HSDA membership. That is what we are here to serve. And as national vice chair, that's who I've represented. As national chair, that's who I represent to the DNC, to HSDA and eBoard decisions, and everything else that has to do with my position. Thank you.
Thank you. With that concludes the chair-specific section of the position-specific round. Would all vice chair candidates please turn on your cameras, and chair candidates please turn off? Millen, would you mind turning off your camera? Okay, thank you. All right, so my first question again goes to Lauren first. So my question for Lauren is, how do you plan to delegate work and collaborate with your co-vice chair?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think bottom line is what we have to do is when and if I'm elected vice chair, we got to set ground rules, right? So vice chairs, it's two-person job. And right now as Eastern Regional Director, I also serve with another Eastern Regional Director. And I think something that we really did successfully is when we first met, we kind of set the foundation for how we wanted to lead for the year. And we also really talked about our strengths. So I'm from Massachusetts, and in Massachusetts, something I'm really good at is starting local chapters. I really understand how to do it. I've started over 20 local chapters in Massachusetts, which is awesome. But something I noticed about my other Eastern Regional Director is she was really, really good at understanding how to do programming. So because of that, we were really able to kind of double team and really effectively communicate to state chairs how to really lead successful state chapters because we had different strengths. So again, going back to vice chair, I think the most important thing is identifying what our strengths and potentially, hey, maybe weaknesses are. So that way we really can lead an effective team. So when we check in with state chapters, we can really give good advice. And when we check in with local chapters, we can give really good advice. So I think there's that component. I think another component is really having a good organizational system. Again, with being Massachusetts chair, I have to do a lot of work. And as being vice chair, you got to do a lot of work. So you really have to make sure you set a really good organizational system. And that's something I'm really willing to do and really willing to commit to. So I think there's that part. And then I think the other part is we just have to make sure that we hold each other accountable. You know, there are going to be times, hey, maybe in the winter, in January, when everyone knows HSDA is sometimes a little bit on not as productive. We just have to recognize and hold each other accountable and always make sure that we're doing the work. If someone needs a little bit of assistance, I can jump in. If I need a little bit of assistance, I can always count on my co-vice chair. So I think kind of to summarize, it's really making sure that we prioritize our strengths and weaknesses when we check in with state chairs and local chapters, really making sure that we have a really good organizational system, and ultimately making sure that we're accountable.
Unfortunately, Lauren, you did run out of time, but that is totally okay. My next question goes to Jack. Jack, my question for you is, what reforms do you think are necessary for the National Committee?
Ankita, I'm so sorry. You cut out on my end. Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, totally. What I just said was, what reforms do you think are necessary for the National Committee?
Yes, thank you, Ankita, for the question. As everyone knows in HSDA, the National Committee is the most important governing body within our organization. Without it, there would be no national infrastructure to HSDA. And I have experience on National Committee since 2025, since the start of 2025 as Virginia State Chair. And what I need to see and what I want to see in the National Committee in the reforms I want to make first comes down to 3 points. First, the organization of National Committee. As we see time and time again, quorum is not met. And the way I'm going to change that is release the full National Committee meeting schedule at the beginning of my term. So the full meeting yearly calendar is available to state chairs and caucus leaders. So we reach quorum every time. I also want to send the agendas 48 hours in advance, as well as any resolutions and bylaw amendments on the table at the time. And I also want to make sure it's accessible to all of our state leaders and caucus leaders. And by that, I want to do a full parliamentary procedure presentation. Unfortunately, I have yet to see a presiding officer do a full parliamentary procedure presentation, which has limited the amount of productive work and effective work National Committee can get done. And also, I want to hold ourselves accountable for our attendance and our communication and getting our work done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jack. Just as a preface, some of these questions will be repeated. So just for fair warning for any future vice chair candidates who may get a repeat question. Our next question goes to Alice. Alice, my question for you is, if you get to serve on the DNC, what strategy would you use to ensure HSDA gets the recognition it deserves?
Thank you for that question. I think that we need to be more headstrong with the things that we are approaching the DNC with. I do recall that in this past term, one of the major things that HSDA's vice chairs did, Isabel specifically, was propose a resolution that would call for the abolishment of ICE, and the DNC altered it so that the language is different, so that it wasn't calling for the abolishment of ICE. We need to continue being headstrong with that, and even though if I were to be elected vice chair and potentially the DNC seat holder, it shouldn't be just my voice that I'm emphasizing. Also, we need to emphasize the voice of NatCom, of caucus leaders, of even local chapter leaders too, to be straightforward with the DNC on that they need to support their youth. They need to be there for us, and we are there for them. We matter. We are not just the future. We are the present, and they need to realize that. So it's a matter of connecting with them and publicizing these issues. So, for example, with ICE, which is one of the issues that I'm most passionate about, I live in an area of Connecticut, which is it's the most diverse county, and I originate from a town that has one of the highest immigration populations, and ICE is active in the area. The other week, they separated a father from his son, and they left his son in the hot car for hours. We need to share these personal stories, and it shouldn't be just mine. It needs to be everybody in HSDA. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, my next question goes to Ezra. So Ezra, my question for you is, how can we elevate caucus leaders' opinions on national issues?
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, I'm Ezra. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm proud to be running. I think a way in which we can elevate caucus leaders at the national level and state leaders really is to partner with organizations. So just last week, I was on a call. Well, I was on two separate calls with a couple different organizations, and through partnerships, we can really, expand the reach of our caucus and our state leaders. So specifically, there's organizations like Emerge America, which uplifts, female candidates for public office. So a women's caucus, a partnership would be super valuable. The sky really is the limit for HSDA because we're a DNC affiliated organization. We have so many members and so many different chapters. So we have that structural support, right? So we can partner with organizations and really elevate our reach. So the potential is really there. And through organizational collaboration, we're able to do that.
All right, thank you, Ezra. So my next question goes to Javier. So Javier, my question for you is, as vice chair, you will be responsible for both leading the national committee. How will you balance the responsibilities of being a strong leader during NatCom while also being approachable both within and outside of it?
Okay, thank you so much for the question, Akira. So I think one of the most important aspects of leadership that I have learned throughout my last 4 years involving in national student government, in HSDA, and in my local chapter of student government is that you have to not create, but embody a persona that is approachable at all times, even when you are headstrong in your leadership. So when leading an organization like NatCom, of course, you have to be headstrong, you have to show that respectful attitude, but at the same time, you really do have to maintain your personality at all times. And you have to be approachable, personable, and friendly, creating an environment that is safe for the peers around you. Because at its core, leadership is about serving other people. And if you really prioritize those other people's opinions and show that humility within your leadership, then that balance creates itself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Javier. That concludes our vice chair portion of our second round. Would all vice chair candidates please close their cameras and all communications candidates open theirs? All right. So first up in our question is Naisha. So Naisha, my question for you is,
Sorry, Ankita, it's saying the host is not allowing me to share my video.
that's odd. You should be allowed to do that. I don't believe there's any. Yeah,
Now
there's nothing that's stopping you from starting your video. Oh, did it?
Right now it's, yeah, I think it wasn't letting me before and then now it is.
Okay, incredible. So sorry about that.
No, you're good.
So so Naisha, my question for you is, in the past year, HSDA members and leadership have been featured in NPR, The Washington Post, The Boston Globe, and more. How can we write off our successful year and increase our media presence in the future?
So I think one thing is that as we go into an age where a lot of times I've seen a decrease in students reading as many articles, and I think that's definitely like a sad truth, but it's just something that's happened within our world. And I've talked about this before in my previous answer as well. Social media is such a big part. And I think social media can't just be in the HSDA account. It also goes with the different organizations or the different news networks that we can get in contact with and partner with and try and get the real voices of HSDA members out to not just young Democrats, but even voters as well who are older than us. Because the truth is, we are the ones who are shaping the next generation of tomorrow. And we need to show that because we're the future leaders of the world, we can't just keep our voices limited to our group of people, but instead extend it to so many other people. So I think one thing is definitely social media. Once again, I'm talking about those funny reels that people will love, trends, anything like that, but making them in collaboration or partnership with other news networks as well.
All right, thank you, Naisha. My next question goes to Emery. So, Emery, my question for you is, in the past year, HSD has expanded to almost 12,000 members. However, we currently have around 9,000 followers on Instagram, 3,500 on Twitter, and 1,000 on TikTok. How do you believe we can lessen the gap between our membership and our following?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. I think the most important way to do that is to have super engaging content. I want content that doesn't just get views and get likes. I want content that makes people angry, that makes people see the high school Dems as a place where that they can get involved and a place where that they can make a true difference. And I think it is really important as well in this current age to also increase our visibility. So I'm thinking more short short form content such as TikToks and Reels because those are an extremely important way to increase visibility. And often they give the chance that just image based content does not, to really show membership and show possible members what HSDA has to offer, and to really show that HSDA members can make a change, they can get involved, and HSDA is an amazing place to do this because, as previous candidates has said, youth is not just the future, we are the present, and we can make a difference. And showing our members that they can make a difference through HSDA would be the most important way to lessen the gap between our following and our membership. Thank you.
Thank you, Emery. So my next question goes to Asher. My question for Asher is, other than the traditionally used methods of social media and email, what other channels of communication would you employ to ensure that all members of HSDA are aware of any and all events, initiatives, etc.?
That is a fabulous question. So what I intend to do, as stated in my platform, is I feel like a lot of people do not truly understand the true power of publication, since it gives you the ability to just do so much. So what I'm thinking is we open at least monthly, like it's going to follow a calendar, a period where all of our caucuses, even just other HSTA members, rather than not just people in leadership, so that way those who are just simply members and do not hold an office or position also have a voice, since I feel many do not feel that way. And also my fellow Democrats in red states, since many issues within minority groups within caucuses and issues within those who reside in red states are underrepresented. If we have a publication that is easily accessible through our website, through the Slack, through the Instagram, and regularly updated, and just overall and also like given out through connections we make with national news outlets, we will truly be unstoppable with our reach and scope. Thank you.
Thank you, Asher. All right, so my next question goes to Katie. My question for Katie is, how would you ensure that all members of HSDA have the opportunity to be active in our organization throughout the year and in the loop about all events, not just state and national leaders, and that you as a communications director are approachable to all members?
Hi, that's an amazing question. Thank you for that. Would love to make sure that all HSDA members are included. This is a big part of my platform. I want to make sure that we have the progressive team revitalized so that way they can hear youth voices underneath that, and specifically underrepresented voices of members in HSDA. And for programming wise, I want to make sure that we have a schedule on the website where they can look by area, state, local, county, etc., to see what events are happening either online or in person in their areas that they can go to, and have a specific section for that on the website. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. My final question is for Preeth. What do you believe is the appropriate response for HSDA when major national news breaks, for example, hate crime incidents, election results, etc.?
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
You're all good. What is the appropriate response from HSDA when major national news breaks? For example, that could include hate crime incidents, election results, etc.
I feel like the most appropriate response when like these like outbreaks happen is, going with that action, making an action with like more of a a kinder approach, because I feel like HSDA, I feel like we're really big on like having these like big, like especially with our Instagram. I feel like we're very like I don't know how to explain it. We're very like suitable for like I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to explain this question. I feel like we need to go with the more kinder approach anyways, I think we are more kindly, like more like respectful with our approach. But I feel like I'm honestly tripping. I'm just gonna end it right there.
Thank you, great. That ends the communications portion of the second round. Would all communications director candidates close their cameras, and all programs director candidates please open theirs. Incredible. So our first question goes to Mateo. What plans do you have to ensure that more events are planned across caucuses and the programs department, as well as advising groups across HSDA and raising awareness for their work?
So sorry, could you repeat that question, please?
Yeah. What plans do you have to ensure that more events are planned across HSDA and as well as advise groups that may not have had as much programming in the past year to have more programming in the next?
Of course. So what I want everyone to think of is that most of our members didn't even know we had town hall today. Most of them aren't even aware that we have national elections, and that needs to change. And that starts with involving everyone, engaging everyone by knowing what's going on, so then they can build on that. If they see an event they like, they can start building events that shape their values. They want to bring something from a red state to every single corner of HSDA. And the way I'm going to do that is creating a streamlined monthly calendar that has every single event, every single speaker with times, topics, and speaker sessions if they are coming. And I would also have for our elections a spreadsheet where HSTA members can share campaigns with each other. So we're supplying volunteers for our most important races in 2026. I want to make sure every single person doesn't see a dead Slack channel as their first impression of HSDA. They see a lively organization that has events that are active, that are fun and motivating, and that will encourage them to make events, make programming of their own that's innovative and actually works everywhere across all of our state chapters. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mateo. Next up is David. So David, my question for you is, do you have a strategy for hosting larger and more effectively run national events?
Of course, thank you so much for that question. For that question, I believe that we need to host bigger and better events. But before we do that, we need to make sure that our programs and our initiatives are actually working the way they are intended to do. So first, for example, I would want to launch the Task Force Action Initiative, which would basically restore task forces by connecting them to national HSDA programming, and also launching the National Volunteer Hub, which would kind of just, in a way, connect all of the applications we have, things like committee applications, task force applications, things like that, into a streamlined systems. Of course, launching a new member program. And also, I'd also want to launch more personal events, things like game nights, bingo nights, stuff like that. But through all of that, through basically making sure the systems that run these events are better, and I have personal experience with this, we can ensure that HSDA is hosting better events. And also, I would also make sure that we are meeting with state leaders, chapter leaders, and overall my goal is to just find out what's going wrong and just fix it. That way it'll kind of trickle down. We fix the programs and then we will make bigger and better national events. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up for a question is Annika. So Annika, my question for you is, oftentimes there is low turnout for national events and training events. How will you ensure improvement in attendance?
Okay, great question. And I think that this question kind of focuses on the attendance part of it, right? We shouldn't be trying to ensure to like meet an attendance quota at every single national event or every single training or workshop. Instead, what we should be focused on doing is creating events that people actually want to go to and creating trainings that actually provide value to people so people are actually incentivized to come, right? And so I think that obviously there are things that we can do in terms of like advertising, like we can put events like on our website, we can send them out in Slack, we can bring back like the national events bulletin to uplift events from state and caucuses and other HSDA entities and like social media as well. But then I think really at its core, we need to have more events with purpose. So that's like having high profile speakers and really like asking HSDA members, like, what is it that they want to learn? And I think that it comes down to kind of like certain policy and political skills. So that's things like, how do you use the back end of like some of these like organizing like platforms like Scale to Win or PDI or NGP Van, right? Because that helps you become like a better like field director or something like that. Or like policy advocacy, like how do you get involved with legislative advocacy? So I think that when if I'm elected, I would focus on creating events that people actually want to go to, not on just meeting arbitrary attendance quotas. And for the record, my events were well attended this year. I've had like 20 people show up at like speaker events I've hosted. I think my time is up.
Your time is up. All right. Next up in our question is Santana. So Santana, my question for you is, how do you intend to broaden HSDA's organizational impact through programming?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for that question. As the Disabled Caucus Chair this year, I've had the opportunity to host meaningful programming for our caucus as well as for the broader HCA membership. I've collaborated with other caucuses with the intent of highlighting the intersectionality of multiple identities as well as states and local chapters, as well as task forces. So I think in terms of broadening our impact within the Democratic Party and around the nation, I will intend to introduce the opportunities database that will connect all of our members with meaningful opportunities and ways to get involved, not only within HSDA, but also within their states and within the DNC as well as YDA. And also organize the Organizing Academy leading up to the 2026 midterm so we can scale our impact. This will focus on communications, political organizing, social media, leadership development, advocacy, lobbying, and a whole other plethora of initiatives and various forms of programming. So that's my my idea and plan for implementing initiatives that would reach the broader membership of HSDA.
Unfortunately, Santana, you have run out of time. We will be moving on to the next person in our list, which is Yatin. Yatin, my question for you is, how would you ensure that all members of HSDA have the opportunity to be active in our organization throughout the year and in the loop about all events, not just state and national leaders being aware, but also regular members of HSDA?
So thank you very much for that question. My thought is that every HSC member starts with one thing, like a student who decided that they cared about what happens in our country, about what happens in our politics, and how it's going to affect them in their everyday life. And the question is whether we give them somewhere to go next. And as programs director, the responsibility of our position is not simply to plan events, but to shape the experience and growth of every single HSDA member. So my Ignite platform, inclusion for one, means ensuring that every chapter or every single member even, whether large or small, urban or rural, feels supported through initiatives like Chapter Connect and a year-round needs assessment. On the other hand, my growth platform means ensuring that intentional leadership pipelines, like the Blue Horizons Fellowship that I advocate for, has members become their own organizers rather than passive attendees. These programmings beyond just being events for people to attend, it is intentionally created and intentionally seasonal and repetitive so members are constantly searching and know how to be involved in HSDA on every single level, whether that's regional, whether that's states, national, or even just on their own. Like, how can they put their best foot in? And my platform calls exactly for that thing. Thank you.
Yeah, my question for Sam is yes, okay. So this one will be a repeat question, but what plans do you have to ensure that more events are all across HSDA and help advise groups all across in raising awareness for their causes?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So serving as the rural and red areas coordinator this year on the national staff has given me a really awesome perspective just across the country, seeing how really small chapters in really red states that aren't super friendly to democratic or progressive politics. Um, it's really opened my eyes to how like the tenacity of people can lead to effective organizing. So in ensuring that events all across HSDA are successful, we really have to get back to the root of HSDA, which is our local chapters. Our local chapters are the most fundamental aspect of our organization. And when we encourage and support those local chapters, whether it be through a stipend program like I plan to implement if elected, or whether it be through promoting them on our national socials, we can ensure that we can get more people at the grassroots level that can then move up the ranks in HSDA. Maybe they can go join caucuses at the national level, join our Slack, join NatCom, join NatStaff, maybe even run for eBoard one day. Also, I would really love to ensure that when we're doing events at the national level, we invite and we support these local chapters and we collaborate all across HSDA with caucuses and national staff members and other departments because HSDA is not a fractured organization. One of our great strengths is that we're all connected and we're all supportive of each other. So we just need to make sure that we are all connecting with one another through our programs.
And right on time. Thank you, Sam. With that, we end the programs sector of the second round and move to development. If our development director candidates can please turn on their cameras and our programs director candidates please turn off their cameras. Thank you. First up is Jonah. So my question for Jonah would be, the development director often has to be the mediator in conflicts during elections season. How are you prepared to do so?
Okay, so thank you so much for this question. Yes, resolving conflicts is an essential part of the development director role. We do control state elections, and I think one of the focuses of my platform is creating more of a bottom-up HSDA approach. So instead of trying to get our way from the executive board top down and force it on all of our state chapters, we want to listen to all of the different constituencies within HSDA, whether that's states, caucuses, local chapters, general membership, and we want to work with them. And I'm going to bring the same approach to resolving conflicts during election season. I don't want to just say my way or use bias. I'm here to defeat Republicans, not here to win arguments against HSDA members. So I'm going to listen to everyone who's involved in a conflict and then work together to create possible solutions. And if that does mean that I have to go against some people, I'm okay with that. That's part of politics. But the important thing is making sure that everyone feels heard and that everyone's opinion is taken into account and that we're not choosing a course of action and then trying to figure out how to justify it later. And this is going to be a big part of my platform. And then I guess I'll talk just a bit more about state elections. One of my one of my plans for HSDA is to create a focus on a standardized timing for state elections so that we can know ahead of time when state elections are. They're not all trying to compete with e-board elections and everyone's able to plan stuff out like that. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Jonah. My question for Alicia. Is Alicia here? Oh,
I'm right
yes,
here.
she is. Oh my God. You
You're all
were on
good.
the
You're all
Sorry,
good.
my computer was glitching and you didn't seem to show up. It's all good though. My question for you is fundraising for our annual summit can be a large and difficult task. What ideas or strategies do you have for fundraising effectively for next year's summit?
Yeah, so obviously we've heard all the things that we usually do, which is going on Slack, going on Instagram, using all the resources we have. And I think the main thing that we need to do as an organization is continue to push that. Like, we already have a very strong social media presence, and I think we do a really, really good job at putting stuff out. The way we organize stuff, the way we create stuff on Canva, whatever we're doing is really good. And I think the main missing link between that is outreach, getting it to people. So the main thing that we can be doing, again, as I mentioned in my original answer the first time I spoke, local chapters are the heart of HSDA and they make up the backbone of the position I'm running for. So if we can get this outreach to local chapters, then that's really where the fundraising kicks in and where we can continue to raise money. I have time left over, so I guess I'll go back to another part of my platform, which is these resource packets. And through these resource packets, there's never any limit for what events we're creating them for or what topics we're creating them for. If we can show local chapters how to fundraise themselves, teach them step by step, and give them contacts for people to get in touch with, that would be me, that would be the rest of the e-board, etc. We can really set up a successful way for local chapters and all of HSDA members to get involved and fundraise successfully. And I think that's really important. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. And with that, that concludes our second round. All right, thank you guys so much. So this question will be entirely open-ended. The way it'll work is essentially you will have 1 minute, 45 seconds to sort of just highlight a part of your platform that you really think is important and would be something you'd want voters, HSDA voters to know. You'll have that 45-second time to do so. And I will not be asking you a question. I will simply call on you and you will say whatever you believe is best in terms of that. So in regards, could all chair candidates please turn on their camera? Awesome. Millen, you have the stage for 45 seconds.
All right, thank you. So my number one priority is pretty clear, and that is delivering wins for Democrats that align with our values in the upcoming 2026 midterms. So on that point, I want to ensure that not we're one supporting our endorsed candidates, but also ensuring that we are creating a program that goes all the way from national, all the way to local chapters, state chapters, our NAT staffers, and engages caucuses and engages all of our organization to ensure that we are mobilizing behind Democrats that share our values, and so we can flip the House, flip the Senate, and flip state legislatures across this country. So that comes to a lot of points. So one, we have to create a organized fellowship program that actually engages students and teaches them how to use systems that will prepare them to work on Democratic campaigns in the future. We will also need to focus on voter registration. First-time voters need to get registered to vote, and HSDA has a big voice in that project.
Unfortunately, you have run out of time. Would all vice chair candidates please unmute? I mean, not unmute, sorry. Turn on your cameras. All right, incredible. So first of all, we will have Lauren go for 45 seconds. Lauren, whenever you're ready.
All right. In a year from now, what does HSDA want to have achieved? Well, what I will achieve as your vice chair is an organization where every member has the support to create change in their communities. Now I'm going to highlight the A in my WAVE platform, which is amplifying youth voices. As your vice chair, I'm going to ensure HSDA members are represented in all levels of the Democratic Party. As the DNC rep, I will advocate for change in the Democratic Party. I will ensure state chapters are represented in their state committees like Massachusetts is, and I will ensure local chapters are connected to their town committees, because I believe that when HSDA is represented in all spaces, we will create change. Now, I'm the best candidate for VC because I have the most experience in HSDA, and I understand the work needed to ensure representation and achieve the blue wave. So thanks so much.
All right. Next up is Jack. You have the stage whenever you're ready.
To all the HSDA members watching, as your next national vice chairman, I am here to represent you. If we want to take back Congress and take on Donald Trump, we must have an active HSDA presence in every area of the US, and that is exactly what I will do as vice chair. I have a successful track record of building HSDA mobilization efforts as a local chapter leader, Virginia chair, and Southern regional director, and I will bring this knowledge over the past 4 years to support our local and state chapters, mobilize every HSDA member for the midterms, and grow student voices within the party and our government, and strengthen national committee. As your next national vice chair, I will have your back. View my platform for more details on everything I want to achieve. Thank you.
All right, next is Alice. Feel free to go whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Talking about diversity and inclusion is completely ineffective if we aren't being realistic about a major problem, and that is time and finances. And that's especially for high schoolers. It is a desert for paid internships, positions, etc. And our organizers are trying to pass it off as experience. And if you're fortunate enough, that could be completely fine. But for many, it's not possible to get involved, or they are reluctant to get involved because of time and finances, especially for marginalized groups. So as vice chair, I would put an intense focus on expanding financial opportunities, especially for marginalized groups. And on top of that, expanding outside of just the box of social media to also go to libraries and DTCs, which are frequently community organizing groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Next, we have Ezra.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm Ezra. I'm your National Finance Director, and I'm running to build, share, and sustain HSDA. So right now on our elected e-board, we have 0 members from deep red states. And I'm your only candidate for vice chair that is running from a deep red state. So I'm here to solve that inequity. It's obviously an inequity, and folks from across the country, more than half of them are from red states. So Kentucky, my chapter was inactive for over a year. I was on the Slack in fall of 2025, and I saw it hadn't been used since the night of the 2024 election. So I'm running to maintain our red state chapters, to expand HSDA into every single GOP held congressional district. And I'm also running to maintain our blue states because they have awesome things going on in there. But you can count on me to solve the red state inequity.
Thank you, Ezra. As no other vice chair candidates are currently in the Zoom, we will be closing the vice chair portion, and communications director candidates may feel free to turn on their cameras. Awesome. So first we have Naisha, who will be speaking.
Hi everyone, I'm Naisha once again. So the main thing about communication director is all about connecting. I'm not just talking about connecting in the sense where we talk to more people. I'm talking about actually having passionate conversations with each and every one of our members. I've talked about the use of social media, but I also want to talk about the impact of social media in the political world. We know that we're able to see different news, different kind of things within social media that can be about politics, and sometimes that same information isn't always correct. One thing about me as a communication director is to ensure that accurate information is being presented to our HSDA members, whether that's trying to catch algorithmic biases or even trying to catch misinformation on social media posts, whether it's our posts or other even bigger networks or like different news outlets as well. Seeing that, being able to decide and see their data, and then making sure that accurate information is being told to our HSDA members, because they
Unfortunately, Naisha, you have run out of time. We'll be moving to Emery for her remarks.
Hello, everyone. Once again, my name is Emery Marks, and I am running to be your next HSDA communications director. For the past year, I have spent numerous hours running communications for different organizations, such as the Minnesota High School Democrats, and as you know, in Minnesota, we have had a very tumultuous year, and I've had to address numerous issues and numerous political happenings that are going on in Minnesota. That has given me the experience to be your next communications director. I know communications isn't just about social media, it is about contacting every member. It is more behind the scenes. And as your next communications director, I want to highlight every single perspective. Again, my name is Emery Marks. Please follow my Instagram, Emery Marks for Communications Director, and you can look at more about my platform in my bio. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily. And we will be moving on to Asher to give their remarks.
Hi guys, it's me, Asher L. Owens, and I'm running to be your 2026-2027 Communications Director. Now, my platform runs on three main things. First of all, our job in communications is to uplift the voices of those who are not heard. And I find that to be those in our caucuses, the people who work so very hard in our caucuses, those who live in Hawaii, those who live in Alaska, and those in our red states. I lived in my home state during Helene, the hurricane that destroyed much of Western North Carolina and Tennessee. And it made me realize that there are so many different perspectives from that area within red states that are so overlooked by the Democratic Party. Poverty looks different, education looks different out there. And I feel like those stories are not represented enough. And as young activists, it is our job to uplift those voices and do what we can to make sure Democrats out there are heard. Because we're not all just hillbillies that live on a farm. We're people with our voices and feelings and thoughts and want to do things to make our country even better. Because we're all here because we love our country. And I want everyone's voice to be included so we can make it better. I want a centralized publication so we have the ability to hear those voices. And I want to create connections with national news outlets so we can further push our agenda.
Thank you, Asher. Unfortunately, your time has run out. And we will be moving on to Katie. Katie, please feel free to start whenever you're ready.
Hi, again, this is Katie Ayakana. Sorry, my video just turned off. Hold on. Okay. Can we restart my time if that's okay?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Katie, and I'm running to be your communications director. Some of the main focal points of my platform are reforming the multimedia department. Our multimedia department is currently very inactive, and this needs to change. I will help change that by launching formal style interview series with HSCA members, elected officials, and Democratic leaders doing meaningful work, and I will post that across multiple platforms in many different ways, in some examples as short form videos, audio clips, and written Q&As. Another main focal point of my platform is revitalizing the progressive teen and establishing a consistent publication schedule, editorials, and open pitching for all members while prioritizing voices in underrepresented chapters. And I also am working to make HSCA more accessible as a whole. So I will make sure that posts have alt text, image descriptions, captions on videos, and are using camel case hashtags. As the current Civic Caucus Communications Director, this is very important to me. And my Instagram is @Katie4Comms, so please look on there if you would like any more information, and you can message me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. And lastly, we have Preet. If Preet would like to speak, you have the floor.
Yeah, so my entire platform runs off 4 pillars. Number 1, empowering these grassroots, since we have a microgrant program, but no one knows about it, and that's exactly the problem. And as communications director, my job isn't to exactly reinvent this grant, but make it that everyone knows how to apply and everybody knows about it in the country. And the Pivotal Fund is a communications first push to turn this resource into a real tool for chapters. Registering blueprints for organizers in tough territory, and the Unlock project that translates these core materials into 5 languages. And we also have to own this narrative. A national PR squad would secure this local press for 30 chapter actions, such as Mic Drop Mondays and these red zone spotlights to amplify our toughest chapters in these areas.
All right, thank you, Preet. That concludes our communications director portion of the last round. Programs director candidates, if you would like to turn on your camera. Incredible. All right, so first up is Mateo. You have the floor.
All right. We need to flip seats in 2026, and you need a program director that knows how to do that. I did just that last year in the Miami mayoral race, flipping a seat from R plus 65 to D plus 20. It took very extensive outreach and engagement of red and conservative voters. I want to take that model nationwide. But motivating initiatives with exciting names only go so far if we elect people that forget about their responsibilities in 2 months. I'm the only one in this race with a dedicated pillar dedicated solely to accountability to make sure I'm actually delivering results, with monthly reports that break down my successes, hiccups along the way, and making sure I'm in check delivering what actually needs to be done. Please make sure to follow Mateo for programs on Instagram and have a
Thank you, Mateo. Next up is David.
Thank you so much. I would like to quickly talk about my accountability and implementation pillar on my platform. So if you know me, I'm an operations guy, and what I would want to do is track involvement and engagement. I would want to identify gaps and make sure that programs are consistently implemented that would deliver support where needed. I would also create a quarterly report on programming and member engagement so that HSDA members actually know what's happening and make sure there's real impact. I would also create recurring member surveys and ensure programming actually reflects what members want. Because we want to flip red seats, build bigger and better programs. We want to revitalize task forces, but all of these things cannot happen if we don't implement them. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next up is Annika.
We need to flip the house. So midterms. I'll create a midterm organizing fellowship that pairs fellows with campaigns and teaches them skills that they often don't get as volunteers, and also build a campaign internship database. I'll host daily phone banks and voter registration drives in the 44 battleground races identified by the DCCC. All of this work will be done in coalitions with state chapters, local chapters, and grassroots organizations. I have the strongest record on delivering in electoral organizing. I organized in California, in Virginia, and New Jersey last year, flipping several seats and winning by a huge margin for Prop 50. I'm also advising 10 congressional campaigns on youth strategy. So vote for the person who actually creates action. Vote Annika for programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Annika. Santana, you now have the stage.
As your national programs director, HSDA will be a more active, more connected, more engaged, and more forceful organization. We will launch the Organizing Academy, expand an opportunities database, build stronger collaboration between chapters, caucuses, states, and task forces. We'll ensure that our task forces are more active. We will host meaningful trainings and workshops. We will also expand more opportunities to our regions and increase overall accessibility. If you want a programs director who has experience in all areas of the programs department, vote Santana for your next programs director for the 2026-27 term. Please follow my Instagram, Santana for Programs. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a great evening. Thank you.
And next up, we got Yatin to take the floor.
So I want to leave you all with this. The future of HSDA will not be determined solely by how many members we recruit. It will be determined by how many leaders we develop. Every student who joins HSDA has potential to organize, to advocate, to lead, and to change their community. And that is precisely why I'm running, because I believe programs can do more than fill calendars. I spent years building systems that empower young people, and with Ignite, I will ensure every member feels connected, every chapter feels supported, and every young Democrat has the tools to lead. Not someday, but now. Let's ignite the next generation of Democratic leadership. And until next time, your future programs director. Thank you.
Thank you, Yatin. And lastly, we have Sam for the programs director slate.
Hi. Again, I'm Sam. I'm running to be your national programs director. And I think definitely what I've seen as a common thread throughout everyone's talks has been the 2026 midterms. I mean, they're a super huge thing that's coming up, but the 2026 midterms aren't just about Congress. Obviously, we want to flip Congress, but I think sometimes we might get bogged down in wanting to get that majority, as important as it is, and we forget about all of our local seats, all of our municipal governments, all of our state houses, all of our state senates, our state superintendents, our comptroller generals, our commissioners of agriculture. A candidate I'm working for right now for South Carolina State Superintendent of Education just won her primary. So we're already making progress towards that goal. And as your national programs director, again, I want to bring a lot of energy back into our local chapters and into our local governments. Thank you guys and have a good night.
Thank you. If all programs director candidates would like to close their cameras and all development director candidates open theirs. All right. So first up to take the mic, Jonah, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonah D'Alessio, and I'm running for HSDA Development Director. So we've heard from a lot of great candidates tonight about their plans for HSDA for midterm elections and for organizing. But none of this can happen if we keep letting roadblocks get in the way. So my job as Development Director is to remove these roadblocks. And one of the biggest roadblocks that we often run into is fundraising. I have a track record. I've raised over $10,000 in the Development Department. We rebuilt the Finance Committee and launched our state and local chapter finance guide. But I'm not done. I plan to partner with progressive orgs to expand donor outreach, to fundraise for regional summits and lobby days across the country, and to hold joint fundraisers with caucuses and states. I've been active in HSDA since I've been in freshman year. I love politics. Win or lose, I won't stop. So feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or Slack if you have any questions. I'm Jonah D'Alessio. I'd be honored to have you vote for Development Director. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Jenna. And Alicia, you round us out tonight.
Okay, I'll make it quick because I know I'm the last person speaking. Again, I'm Alicia Sachdeva. I'm running for Development Director. When I think about HSDA, I think about the local chapters, all the people that I've met as a part of this organization. They, as I've said it a multiple amount of times tonight, they are the heart of this organization and where students discover the power of their own voices. As Development Director, I want to make sure these chapters have the support they deserve through practical resource packets with event guides, outreach templates, graphics, and advice from successful chapters so no one has to reinvent the wheel. I also believe that support should outlast any one leader, which is why I support building these onboarding packets and creating an onboarding process into our bylaws. I've done this work before, and I know a development director isn't just about growing numbers. That's why I would love to have your vote. Thank you so much, and good night, everybody.
Thank you. And that rounds out our third round. I'll pass it off to Zed to make closing remarks.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to the National Town Hall today. And for those who are streaming on YouTube right now, had a great night hearing from everyone who is running. Feel free to go onto the National Slack and read our National Election Guide if you have any question about how the position runs, or filling out the opt-in form so you can hear from the candidates directly. We'll be hosting our second National Town Hall on Saturday, June 20th, and that will be a chance for candidates to ask each other questions and go a bit more in depth into their platforms and why they're running. So thank you everyone for being here, and have a wonderful night.